Hello and welcome to Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you like this video, when I'm done, please push like and share it with others. I would appreciate it. In 1895, Congress authorized what would become the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the federal prison system actually. As a result, 3 prisons were initially built, which were opened in 1913. That is McNeil Island in Washington, upstate Washington, Atlanta, USP Atlanta, Georgia, and the United States Penitentiary in Leavenworth, Kansas. 103 years later, or on September the 21st or 13th, damn, I just forgot, 1998, I would walk through the doors of Leavenworth with a mandatory life sentence for a 1-count conspiracy of distributing methamphetamine. As I've said before and several times in these videos, walking into Leavenworth, you can feel the historic pool of the place. You can feel the history. There's a musty smell when you walk in, like an old dirty basement. But all the while, you are aware of this massive structure and the history that it carries. After the first year in Leavenworth, I began frequenting the special housing unit. The special housing unit, i.e. Hole, or SHU, i.e. SHU, or otherwise known as the Hole, is a county jail-like facility within the walls of Leavenworth. Leavenworth, as you guys can see from a quick Google search, the whole front of the prison is one big building, and there's walls that are attached to it, so it circles, or it encompasses all of the grounds. In the SHU, you often will encounter disruptive inmates. Guys that yell on the door all night, guys that kick the door, bang the door. In some SHUs, guys will do programs, or if you have a lot of guys that come in the SHU at one time and are friends, sometimes they'll do the nighttime program where they'll stay up late and they'll talk on the door. That's one thing. But then you got the bugs, the nutcases that will beat on the door just to make everybody else miserable or not be able to sleep. And that's kind of where this story started. I and one of my bros, Dusty, was on B range for whatever reason, and I'm going to say this was in around 2000. And we had a guy downstairs that all night long would just beat on the door, talk cash shit, and just otherwise cause problems. We were directly above him, and he was directly below us and one cell over. So let's say, for example, we were in B218 upstairs. He was in B116 downstairs. You got the odd side and the even side. Well, one night, Dusty and I got to drinking and thinking, and we really wanted to torture this guy. We just couldn't get to him. This guy wasn't going to rec. He was kind of on PC status, unofficially. But so we decided that we were going to flood the downstairs. Now, flooding sucks unless you're a part of it. Unless you're doing it and you're involved, and it's horrible. I've talked about flooding in a few videos ago. Basically, back in the day, the water, you can turn the showers on and they would run nonstop. You can turn the sink on, it's a button if you keep pushing it. And the toilets, if you kept pushing the button and flushing it, water would come out and come out. There was no shutoff switch. They've changed that in most SHUs nowadays, just for this reason, that is flooding. Well, the pipe system, it's all hooked up together, very basic stuff. And we knew that the cells above us were, like, let's say we counted 9-10 feet, and then we figured like 1.5 feet for the concrete. So what we did was we cut up strips of sheets, tied them together, and then we got them about as long as the ceiling, from the floor to the ceiling, plus some extra. Now, everything goes down. Once you're upstairs, the plumbing goes down, and then it'll go, I think it was going to the west, okay? It was going towards cell 116 where this guy was. So we knew we had to in order to clog up his toilet like we wanted to do, we had to put some extra sheets to make sure it would go downstairs, not mess with the neighbor, and then go over to his cell. There's kind of an art to it. So we were figuring, and this is how it works. I think I got a little ahead of myself. The goal is that you want to make a line out of the sheets, the string I just said. And then you want to put something on it. Let's say forks, a bunch of plastic forks. And then you want to flush it. Make sure it's downstairs. And then you want to get a bunch of trash and debris, start flushing it. Eventually it gets clogged downstairs. Then you push the water. And then when the person downstairs goes to use the bathroom, the water will come up because it stopped from going down. I hope I made myself clear. Anyway, so Dusty and I devised a scheme to get to this guy down in cell 116. And sure enough, we were spot on successful. At first, it did not affect the neighbor's toilet, the guy directly below us. I forgot it was a friend of ours. I forgot who was in it. Not a friend, but somebody who we didn't really want to screw over. The goal was to try to make cell 116, as soon as he flushed it, if he had to go to the bathroom, whatever, that the water would come up. We really were just trying to get to this guy's cell. At first, that's how it worked out. Of course, if the guys in 118 and 120, I think as far as it goes, 2 more cells to the wall, eventually they would get blocked up because they're downstairs. But that wasn't the original goal. It was really just to get through this a-hole in cell 116. So we did. And we were proud of ourselves for being able to just to do it, hit the timing perfectly. I mean, the length of the sheets, I mean, we got it spot on. Guy was screaming, everything was flooding, we were laughing. Of course, then more flooding started because more people started to flush the toilet and it got to be kind of a mess down there. That was not our intent that night. A few nights later, we get word that we have drugs that just came into the SHU from the compound. So it was not uncommon to be able to send a note or a kite out of the hole to general population, either with somebody who's getting out, or you can give it to one of the orderlies who can eventually get it in one of the food trays that would eventually make its way into the kitchen. And the guys who were doing the trays or cleaning the trays would get notes in the trays and they would go to whoever the note said. So for example, if I wanted it to go to Gator Boy B upper, and that kite would get to him, that would go out the dishes, the trays is what I should say. So we got word out, we got drugs in, and we found out that one of our bros just came in with the package. The package meaning the heroin and syringe and some tobacco, whatever it was. The problem was they just made all the orderlies go inside. They just closed for the night. Well, we were drinking and jonesing, and that's when we decided, well, hey, we'll just flood, which will cause the orderlies to come out, and then we'll have one of the orderlies go to cell such and such for one of our bros to get the dope and bring it back to SB High. And that's what we did. But this time, what we were trying to do was flood the bottom out. Once they flood the bottom out, then the orderlies would come, and then we'd be able to yell out and make sure that one of the orderlies came up. And that's what we did. And it was one heck of a flood. For whatever reason, probably something like a Kansas City Chiefs football game. Staff wasn't walking, doing their hourly rounds like they were supposed to. So we were able to push a lot of water and flood for over an hour. Generally, staff is supposed to do rounds every hour, or they will hear guys kicking on the door. If guys are kicking on the door and screaming like, hey, my cell's flooding, CO, 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 then they'll come. However, if there's a Kansas City football game involved, they're gonna sit in the other room, they're not gonna pay attention, they don't care. Hang yourself, doesn't matter. That's just how, they're Chiefs fans, it's Leavenworth, Kansas, this is what it is. Well, that's one of the nights we got them on. And let me tell you, we flooded the hell out of downstairs. Again, it's fun when you're a part of it or doing it. No fun when you're on the bottom. You might have legal work on the floor, just whatever you got on the floor, and now it's all flooded. It's really an asshole move. It really sucks, to be honest. But this is a story of what we did. What the goal we set out to accomplish worked. In fact, the orderlies came out, we had one go to where we're supposed to, and high we got. And we were happy, giddy, feeling like, rocket scientists because our little schemes worked. And then A couple more days go by and we get drunk again, and then we get bored and we decide, let's flood again, just because it's funny and it's fun, and hey, we got nothing to do. So this time we started, and we were trying to aim, we were trying to perfect what cell we can actually stop our line in front of, and what cell the guy would flush a toilet. For example, like I said, if it was cell 120 or 118 below us, we got 116 one time. So we were trying to get like, okay, who's in 114, 112, you know, and so forth, all the way down. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even side, it was odd side that was below us. My bad. Well, we did it again, and again we created an enormous flood downstairs, a lot of problems, and this time, guys downstairs were getting so frustrated that people started telling, hey man, it's coming from upstairs, they're flooding us intentionally, blah, blah, blah. So the CO started walking, peeking in everybody's cell to see, you know, if there's water on the floor, because when you're flooding even downstairs, you're pushing a lot of water will get out. To see, you know, what was going on. They didn't catch us. Well, now it became a game. Now it wasn't about flooding to screw guys downstairs. It was about flooding to flood because the COs were looking for the flooders. So now we're like, yeah, all right, okay, we're gonna show them. And then we would do it, and then all of a sudden they start coming, we'd stop and sit on the bunk and read a book like little angels. Eventually, people told exactly who it was. And one day, we're sitting in our cells, and here comes a bunch of COs. Robert, Dusty, pack your shit, you're moving downstairs. Like, what? Like, yeah, we know you guys have been the assholes that flooded, but you're moving downstairs. So they moved us downstairs so we couldn't flood downstairs, you know, and they put us all the way in the front cell. That way, if we tried to flood, it was only going to go the other direction. It's not going to cause a bunch of flood this way. Well, enter the next batch of wine. We didn't like it down there. That cell sucked. So we decided to flood our cell. So rather than making sheets, we just stuffed it with blankets and rather than tearing apart sheets, stuffed it with blankets and sheets, started pushing the button. Water comes out of our toilet, run our shower, water's coming out of our shower. Now we're at the end. So the water would stop at the bottom of the stairs, out on the range, and then it would start coming back and going on the other side and back up. We waited for the cop to make the hourly round, and then we started running the shower, running the sink, pushing flush button. And again, the officer didn't return within an hour, and we completely flooded all the bottom of B range, at least that deep, all the way. Also, I talked about a swimming pool that we had previously made in building 63. The first time I actually attempted to make a swimming pool inside of a cell was in the cell I'm talking about now when we were flooding. The problem was the doors were better equipped for making a swimming pool out of a cell. That is, there were solid doors and all you had was cracks on each side to cover up. As opposed to when I told the last story in building 63, those were actually bars with mesh on them. So we had to put plastic, it was a whole different scenario. This, you just basically had to get something to stop these little cracks. Sure enough, I made it probably about, well, it was probably to the bottom of the bunk, so it's probably about that deep of water in the cell. The problem was it was winter and it was super cold water and it was miserable and we were cold and miserable. Yeah, we got in the water and started swimming around just to play, but we already knew that they knew we were the flooders, so we were gonna go ahead and, you know, swim a little bit, screw it, and then whatever happened, happened. A few hours later, now we are wet. Our cell is completely wet. As a matter of fact, water went to the bottom bunk, who we used to rotate weekly. Dusty was sleeping on. We had to put the mattress so it didn't get wet. So now we're like everybody else that's the last couple weeks that we've been screwing. We're all flooded. And staff made a decision to do nothing, to leave us in the flooded water, the whole range, all night. So everybody down there had to stay in water all night. And I will confess, that broke us of flooding in the special housing. 100% broke us. Well, I take that back. 2 nights before we left Leavenworth, we flooded. And that was because we hated a couple guys on the range. That was a different story. But that broke us from for years, until we made the swimming pool up in building 63 and swam around playing Marco Polo for a while. Otherwise, that's it. It is Thursday. This video will be posted tonight. It is possible that there will not be a video tomorrow night because of a heavy metal concert we're going to. So there will be one or two this weekend, and I've got to do a live soon, making progress on the house, so things should start getting in order, including the interviews I'm going to do. This channel should have all my time and dedication, and in all honesty, it has not. As you can see, I've been trying to do better with the videos. I listen to people, I take advice, I read comments. I hear you guys out there. I know people like shorter videos, longer videos. I mean, you can't please anybody that way. But as far as editing and other stuff, we've got stuff coming. We've slow process. I shouldn't even talk about it, because every time I open my mouth and say I'm going to do something, it never follows through, or I'm weeks late, whatever. I can assure you that this channel will be improving even more, and there'll be additional podcasts on other subjects. Soon. Got a room to do, and I can't do the rest of the foundation. I have to get somebody in. Take care. If I don't post tomorrow, have a great weekend.